Alright, so I'm about to start my craps build here. Craps table build. It's going to be a 10-foot table inside tub area, probably about 11 to 12 feet in total length. So I got all my tools kind of set up. I bought all my wood. I'll show a picture to all my drawings before this video ends. But essentially, just got a bunch of pine boards from Home Depot, a bunch of different various length that I calculated that I needed for the table, and then cut a 8x4 piece of birch, or two I guess, down to 5-foot lengths, which is actually going to be a little too short. So I do have the scraps kind of back here that I'm going to have to cut up and kind of glue onto the edge to make the table, the base table, a little bit longer than 10 feet itself, so the tub can actually sit on that top. But I'm going to start getting going here and show you some progress later on. Alright, so update. We got the stick box all cut out, good to go. Here's kind of the drawing for that. And then got the full layout. Got the top piece, two end caps, and then the bottom and the back. I'll show you how those go together. I got most of the box side box cut out. So kind of the dimensions there. That's kind of what it's going to look like in the cap box. Got the 4 pieces kind of to make the attachment box. And then we have need a better saw before I cut this bad Larry out, but that's going to be kind of the backside of the box for the box man. Like I said, I needed to make extensions for my 5-foot table, so I added another, I think it's 4 inches on the end there, just wood glue. So that's curing now for this one. That's my second go at it. This was the other side. I'll kind of show you the design as well, so why it's going to be 2 pieces. So this one didn't come out as well my first shot at it, but should still work plenty good. Oh boy. But that's what we got going on right now, and I'll update you again later. Alright, just another update here. I got the both these player boxes built, so kind of the way I labeled them was box side box. This is going to be a different dimension than the stick side box. So I got box side box here, all cut out, both sides of the table. Again, here are the dimensions. I had to make a quick change here at the end to 42 inches. Because my layout ended up being a bit bigger than I was expecting. So we got 2 pieces of each for either side, and then got the stick side box. Had to change those as well, dimensions down to 48, or up to 48 I should say. So all the pieces there. I'm about to lay it all out right now. Because I still need to do the kind of end caps where the end of the table is short ends, if you will. So I want to lay it all out, make sure I got those dimensions correct before I start cutting those. So I'll see you in a sec. Alright, update with it, gonna all dry run together. here's the layout. So again, the labeling that I use, this is going to be the Boxman side. So we got the Boxman player box, and then we got the box side box. So I didn't really have the right tools. I'm a big proponent of have the right tools, and it's an easy job. For this one, I don't know if you can really see it, but these cuts along there aren't really too smooth. Kind of used a handsaw and a jigsaw together to get those. So not exactly the way I liked it. Maybe I can clean that up with some sanding. But essentially that's the Boxman's box. What we're gonna do is drill some holes right in here to attach bolts, then attach the other box side player box to this one. And obviously the same thing on this side there. All right, then we got the stick side player box here. One thing I didn't account for was the actual thickness of a 1-inch board isn't actually 1 inch. So I cut these. This board here is a 12-inch board, really 11 1/4, I guess, is the real dimension. And this is about 3/4 of an inch. I cut this at 10, thinking I could get, it was supposed to be 1 inch there, and then 12 inches, and then another inch here. So this was supposed to be 10, but I cut it at 10, and as you can see, they don't really quite line up there flush, again, because the thicknesses of the pieces of wood aren't really what the dimensions say they are. So might have to trim down these 10-inch pieces a little bit to make that a little cleaner. Then we got the Stickman box. Just kind of made a box for him. Yeah, I know he doesn't really need that, but it is what it is. And then the other side for this box here. Next is going to be the end caps. I don't have those cut out or laid out yet. I want to see how this looked first and take some measurements with actually stuff laid out to make sure I get it right. Cool, so getting close to the end of the first day, I almost have everything cut out. Next is going to be staining. I'll give you another update before I stain though with the end caps kind of in place. All right, last update for day number 1. So we got the end caps all finished up. I had some leftover extra wood that I didn't think I was gonna have, so I was able to kind of splice wood glue together another 12-foot or a 12-incher. That's gonna be the wall for this side here, and then on this side, another piece kind of had to cut together, or glue together here. It's kind of getting dark out. I don't see it. For the chip rail, for that one. But got all the measurements done and good to go for all that stuff. And then with the Boxman box I was talking about earlier, I only had 2 inches here earlier, and that was pretty small little box there. So I ended up taking some of that extra wood I mentioned, made another 2 cuts there to widen up this box a little bit, where the chips will kind of go in there. But yeah, other than that, last update for day one. I think it went pretty smoothly for having no woodworking skills prior to this. Borrowed some friends' tools, probably mentioned that earlier. Yep, just cleaning up, and tomorrow's gonna stain, and we'll see you then. Alright, beginning of day two. Decided that I'm gonna try to put the pieces together first, the boxes together, before I stain them. Now debating whether to just use wood glue and clamp everything together, or actually use screws to screw everything together. I'm trying to keep the visibility of the screws to a minimum, so I would, bottom piece here, I can just screw in from the bottom, but the top piece, I have to make some pocket holes to screw into this top piece, because I don't want to put screws in the top and they'd be showing the top of the table. Just trying to figure out what I want to do right now with that. From there, once I get everything together, sand, stain, and poly, but I'll give you some more updates as we go through. Alright, quick update. We got a few of the boxes mostly done. What I ended up doing was screwing in the bottom portion, so you're not going to be able to see this. This is going to be the back with the 12-inch piece. And then we just wood glue the top piece on. Wait for that to settle, and we'll glue the back piece on there. So we've got a few of them done. Going pretty well. First one was a little rough, but we figured it out. Got a good system going now. Alright, so we're approaching the end of day two. Got most of the boxes fully put together. So this is one of the player boxes for the box side. I know box is used a lot. We got this piece put together. It's pretty pain in the you-know-where to get all those angles right. Still not very pretty. Again, it's my first kind of woodworking project, so trying to work through a bunch of stuff. But what I figured is I want this piece to be removable. The bolts are going to go through here. I'm going to put Velcro on the long edges and then just put another piece on top to hide kind of the insides of it. But this box is all finished up now as well. This will be the Stickman side. So these three boxes are complete. And then after that one dries, we just got one more put together here. So that piece there, and then the two end pieces we still get to put together. I was waiting to do those last, specifically because, better to see on this one since it's like semi-assembled. The stringers essentially aren't going to be all the way flush like it is with everything else. The bolts are going to go through here to attach to that other box on the back side. So I want to kind of figure out where I was going to put these stringer pieces. So waiting to finish those so we get the final boxes completed. But it's coming together. Pretty good progress. It's looking a lot better than I was expecting, especially for my first job. Everything's coming together pretty flush. Need a bunch of clamps to kind of hold things together. Obviously while the wood glue dries. Yeah. We'll see what's coming up next. Alright, so the beginning of day 3 today, we have all the boxes put together. So I showed most of these yesterday, but this is how the table is going to be assembled. Right here. Still need to take the clamps off this final end piece, but it is all dry now. Just left it overnight. Then I've kind of noticed I've been damaging some of the pines. It's a pretty soft wood. I put down like a micro fleece blanket and overlaid it with just some painter's tarp to so that way I don't really destroy the micro fleece too much. Get all kinds of sawdust and stuff in it, but it's going to also protect the wood from sitting on the concrete. Again, all the boxes. You've seen most of this already, but just kind of going through again. One thing I noticed here is that I didn't really account for this gap between this. I really should have made the 12-inch piece come all the way to the end, but I wanted it to be flush with this piece here. But what that did was leave a gap right in here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. I may just cut out a small piece there and wood glue it onto that end piece. That's still has yet to be figured out. I'm going to try the router again, since this is my first real woodworking project. I've never worked with a router before. I'm going to try that on a test piece and see if I want to actually do all these edges with the router along the top rail there, the chip rail. And see how that turns out in the practice piece, and see how bold I feel to actually do that all the way around the table. Other than that, depending on how that turns out, the next step is going to be to clamp all these pieces together, and I'm going to drill countersink holes into both of these boards, so that way I can attach them together with some bolts. And I'll show you that later once I kind of get all that completed. That's where we're at, beginning of day 3 right now. Again, I keep talking about sanding and poly, but again, my first woodworking project. Not sure when I should have done that, but before I assembled all the boards or after. And I keep thinking of things to do, cutting and whatnot, before I want to get that done. So again, stand by for that. That's about it for now. That's the plan for today. See ya! All right, update, day 3 still. Going pretty slow today, a lot of trial and error with trying to pocket the holes to bolt the tables together. But after a bunch of trial and error, it actually came out, camera's going crazy. It actually came out pretty decent. There, I only did one side, so the other side's actually, the bolts are going to stick out. I'm going to go get some shorter bolts so they don't stick out as much. But trying to line up the two kind of larger diameter holes for the washers on both sides would have been even more of a pain. So I decided just to do the side that the bolt's going to go in, and then the other side I didn't pocket it all there. One thing I figured out after I did the first hole was, even though I have an 1.5 inch drill for the outer portion for the washer, and the bolt is a 3/8, they wouldn't line up exactly perfect. So I had to use, the 1.5 inch, and I originally had a 3/8, which is the right size for the bolt, but getting them centered up and lined up properly didn't quite work. So I ended up going with a 1/2 inch drill bit for the bolts, and then continued with that, and that worked out a lot better. I was able to center up the bolts. They are a lot easier, and everything went pretty quick once I got the first one done. So the whole table now is, put together, all one piece when it's all bolted. It's looking pretty good. Everything's pretty flush. I'm pretty happy with it. It's going well. Next, we messed around with the router a little bit too, so you kind of see the corners we made here on some of these test pieces. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. I got it all set, kind of the depth ready to go. So I'm really just going to take it and go around all the edges here on the chip rail, and hopefully it'll look pretty good. It'll look a lot better than just the squared off edges on the table. All right, another day 3 update. So did all the routing around all the edges. I think I may have already talked about that, but if not, just kept all the pieces bolted together. Just ran the router all the way across. I did kind of mess up here on this piece. I ended up routing this, which I really shouldn't have, since I'm gonna have a piece on top. So this piece is gonna sit here. So really that edge there should have stayed square, and then I should have only routed this top piece, but I routed that by accident. It's kind of effed up there, and then the router didn't really fit there, so kind of did a hack job with the jigsaw. But again, this piece is going to sit on top and hide all that. This will only come off when you're disassembling the table, so really not that big a deal. Not too worried about that. But I did start to kind of finish the table, so put some stain conditioner on those pieces already. After I did that, I remember I should probably do a test run. So that's all that's on the actual pieces of the table right now. This is the test run of the conditioner with the 1 coat of stain that I chose. So use the pre-stained wood conditioner there, and then the Ipswich pine wood stain. And it actually came out a bit darker than I was expecting. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna stain everything. So I'm glad I did the test run. And then on this piece here, this is just the pine with just 1 coat of polyurethane that I put on there to see how that looked. I'm gonna poly this after that dries to see if I like that. Obviously it's not gonna change the color back, but I think I might just go with polyurethane and leave the natural color of the pine. It'll be a lot easier and faster as well. So that's the next thing. Probably start that here in a little bit once these dry and I get figured out what I want to do. Beginning of day 4, finished up most of the stuff I wanted to yesterday. Started with the poly I was talking about. What I ended up doing was, since I already put wood conditioner on some of the pieces before I did my test pieces, I decided I wasn't gonna stain. So in order to keep everything uniform, I'm going to put the wood conditioner on all the pieces and then just go right to poly. So these are the pieces that I've already completed last night with the poly urethane first coat. Still need to sand it and get the other coats on, but I'm going to work on all the other pieces, get a first coat on everything first before I move on to the second coat. So this will be probably about a 2, maybe 3 day project, since each one takes a pretty long time to sand and then get the polyurethane on, and then obviously got to let it dry for a few hours before you can put the next coat on. So that's about it for the next day or so. All right, end of day 4, I think, whatever it was earlier. So finally finished up the first coat of polyurethane on all the pieces. A lot of sanding today. Took a long time to get everything pretty smooth, and then yeah, polyurethane just takes a long time to do, but finally got the first coat on everything. Looking pretty good. Still haven't messed up too bad. Can't say that. I don't think that I've noticed yet. So just let this dry all overnight, and then hit up coats 2 maybe 3 tomorrow. We see how ambitious I feel, how much polyurethane I want to be putting on all day tomorrow. Yep, at least 2 more coats, maybe 3. Again, depending on how ambitious I feel. When the layout comes in or not, that may be the last coat I do. So that might be tomorrow, might be Thursday, not sure. Okay, I don't even know what day it is. So pretty much all I've done the last few days is just polyurethane, all the pieces. I've done 3 coats of polyurethane on each one. 120 sandpaper initially, and then 220, and then the first coat of polyurethane, and then 320s in between each coat, up to 3 coats. So that's what it looks like. I saw some details that I missed, but I can go back and touch those up in a minute. So I bolted it all back together. So the next piece is going to be to attach the diamond rubber. As you can also see, I put the Velcro on kind of this box already. I did this one first, and these 2 long strips are actually way too much. So on the second one, as you can see, I only did the 2 shorter strips, and that's more than enough for these pieces. Camera's going crazy again. To sit on here like that. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. I mean, obviously there's a small gap in there and back here too, but I mean, that's good enough for what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's from the inside here, so not perfect. Obviously I can line that up better, but it'll work. So now just getting the diamond laid out. This is the only piece I have right now until the layout comes. I got 3 more pieces of the diamond rubber coming with that. So almost there. The thing I've been working on as well in the meantime is trying to figure out the hinges for the actual table itself. There, kind of came up with a few different ideas. We'll see what works out best before we put it all together. But again, I kind of want to wait for the layout to get in to get everything measured out properly. Alright, today's been a long day of trial and error to try to get that hinge that I was talking about. So this is just the test pieces, obviously. What I ended up doing was putting some springs underneath with just some L brackets, small L brackets. On the actual piece, I'm going to put a 3rd, maybe 4th spring as well. And then kind of made my own hinge here. So it's really just 2 straight brackets. I guess 4 holes, so I think those are 2 inches and a 1-inch piece. And on the 1-inch piece, I actually had to Dremel out to make a channel there, so that way it can actually slide back and forth. Kind of hard to do with one hand, but it'll slide in this channel. There you go. So that's going to get mounted on both sides here. I got some washers for spacers to attach in the wood. So that's kind of the final plan, and then I also have some brackets, so when it's open we will attach these underneath, and then when we go to move it, take it apart, we'll take these straight pieces off. The hinges will still be on the side, you got the springs, and it should fold over pretty easy. So I'm going to put it together, this test piece, and we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know. Alright, so trial run. Here we go. We got the the hinge there. Added some more springs and the brackets underneath. And same on the other side with the bracket. We'll see how it turns out when I try to fold it up. Alright, so did a pretty full up mock-up, bolted the table all together. Got a little bit of overhang kind of all around the edges, which was kind of planned for. But actually, right here did not account for. So, got some pieces of extra pine that I had lying around. I'm going to take this apart. Before I did, I wanted to show you, kind of messed up right here. And on the other side, it's pretty close to the same thing, like overhang wise. So I decided that I'll just cut out those pieces there and just glue them in. Also, the holes that I made to kind of secure the table to the bottom, or secure the rails to the table, are actually too far out for the table, so the table's not wide enough for actual bolts to go in. But what I'm going to do is just drop in those 2.5 inch bolts that I have, and it'll kind of just act as a stake, so it doesn't move back and forth on the table. But I'm going to take it apart again and get these pieces of pine glued on. And then from there, probably cut up the felt, staple that to the bottom of the table. Still haven't connected the two pieces yet. I was going to kind of wait for that. Still got the mock-up done up over here. Alrighty, good progress here. We got both sides glued up. Obviously you can see the felt is all stapled in, and the hinges that I makeshifted are working pretty well. So on each side, got them all attached, and it works like a charm. Might not even put the springs on because of how nice and easy it actually just opens up. Except, yeah. All right, got it all completed and in the house. Just waiting for the layout now, and we are set to go. Not sure if you saw it earlier, but I just used a normal white folding table. Had to add some spacers, but it's all set to go. Alright, so we got the layout in today. The rest of the diamond rubber.
Penis.
And that's it. So what I did was, I wanted it removable again here. This is Velcro back here, and then I'm going to adhesive this directly to the back piece. The two diamond pieces ended right there. And then tomorrow finish up the other side. We're good to go. Alright, so finished getting the diamond rubber attached. Like I said, we have Velcro on this side. I ended up having to use rubber cement on the rubber side, and then just a normal adhesive against the wood for that. And we had the spray 90 adhesive for the back wall here. And then what I did was I ended up making, I can't get it out, so to speak, 3 of these bad guys, or 4 of these bad guys, just out of some foam that I cut out and some fabric. Adhesive that on, just to cover up these gaps in the table there. Nice and flush there. And the same thing on this side. Got those little caps in. It looks pretty good. Just gonna iron out the creases and put her together. All right, 100% finished finally. What it looks like. Got the layout all stapled down. Have the spacers there to account for the brackets, so it's not sitting directly on the frame of the table. Yeah. Exciting, finally finished. All right, one final update. We had some people over this past weekend, and some things I wish I would have changed with the table. Wish I would have made this more like a real casino where it's really only about a foot in on the dealer side. So that way, when I was dealing, leaning over the table was quite hard to reach all the way across to get everybody with the high wall here. So kind of wish I would have had it just stop here and then gone to the lower level all the way across on both sides. And then also I kind of messed up here underneath when I didn't realize, oops, I don't know why I cut it this short. I really wanted to go all the way to here, so that way I could actually store some of the tools down here to essentially the ratchet and wrench to take apart the table, which would have been perfect down in there. What was the camera doing? So wish I would have changed that. But other than that, it's when I put it together as well this last time, ended up with a pretty decent sized gap here along this piece, which I couldn't figure out why, because it worked the first time I put it together on the table, but now it's not working. But other than that, pretty happy with the whole turnout and how everything went this weekend when we actually put this thing to use. And don't forget the rule number 1 of Vegas: double up to catch up. See ya!